Hello and welcome to a brand new Unsourced Presents. With the upcoming premiere of the second season of How I Met Your Father, the sort of spin-off of How I Met Your Mother, I thought it'd be nice to go back and look over the first season because I have a few thoughts. First off, however, just for the record, I actually enjoyed the original series. I thought it was a fun rom-com that had a lot of heart and creativity. And like most people, I was less disappointed by the final season. But unlike most people, it wasn't because they, spoiler alert, killed off the mother to make room for Robin. No, I mean, it didn't help, but that really wasn't why the blue French horn ending was bad. It was the fact that the finale sort of takes a tack that the way the series was told was all pointless. That fun, fragmented, domino effect episodic nature of that show, which had become its hallmark, was all purposeless stalling. And that's what really riled me up because one of the few things that made the show stand out and was its own unique thing. And it's why the Yellow Umbrella ending, that was a special feature on the DVD, stands out as a superior ending to me. Not just because the mother lives, because I do think there exists a compromise that was possible between mother dying and also having a good finale, but because the ending fulfills the promise of that wacky and disjointed framing network that the show had sort of coalesced over the years. With this short, sweet, simple montage that shows just how the seemingly random episodes all connected, like some sort of magic trick. It gave the show a sense of cohesion, and that's a key word here, cohesion. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about How I Met Your Father Season 1 and how it's making all the same mistakes by trying to avoid them. It's like some sort of Greek tragedy, like Oedipus. The How I Met Your Father, and to a greater extent the original unaired pilot How I Met Your Dad, both seem found on the express purpose of avoiding the type of reaction that the original got with its finale. Both versions of this show stating in the first episode, with no compunctions or exclusions, that one of the direct male leads of the cast is the father, just to circumvent any viewers might feel cheated down the road. But here is where the show makes its fatal mistake, and yes, I'm calling this a fatal mistake, because until they write around it, this is something that's going to be hanging around the neck of the show until it ends. And the mistake is, well, it keeps it a mystery. Now, the unaired original pilot not only says that the father is one of the male leads, but it also says who it is, and the show would have instead pivoted to a new main focus, not how they met, but how they fell in love. Which, you know, is a bit more generic, it's a bit more standard rom-com, but it's something that you could hold a series to. How I Met Your Father keeping it a mystery sounds like they wanted to keep the gimmick of the original show without understanding it. Yes, the mother's identity was a mystery in the fact that Ted didn't know her yet. But like stated at the start, the show was always more about the journeys the characters went on, how things snowballed for them, how their characters developed and coalesced together, how that affected them, their growth and their dynamics. And the decision to keep the father identity a mystery inadvertently kneecaps that core aspect. Because as the first season shows as it goes along, if the entire male cast are meant to be potential fathers, it means that they always have to, well, be options. You have two male casts already in relationships, one of them very committed, but you can't invest or be engaged in those relationships because by the rules of the show, you shouldn't be. Those relationships only exist as ephemeral plot beats that can be discarded at a moment's notice. They're not there to really espouse character development or growth or to enrichen the character's dynamics because they can never do that. They have to be disposable, which makes a lot of the season a slog to get through. The dynamics within the ensemble all have to be kept at an arm's length, in a holding pattern, and there can never be any real progression. If there was real progression, then the show might be in danger of overplaying its hand. You could get a character way too far down a pathway that makes it impossible for, the audience to engage with them if they're meant to be the eventual father. And that's a show thinking too far ahead of itself, and it really makes the entire season such a bore to watch because you're left with a lot of flat characters where no one can really mean anything to anyone else because everyone has to be open for something more. Everyone has to have potential for something more. And endless potential is the same thing as no potential at all because you're never capitalizing, you're never paying things off. And that is just boring and slightly irritating and a waste of a cast that is honestly quite charming. Yes, some of them take a while to get used to and start off very irritating, but as you go along, there is something to the show. There is something to the cast. Obviously, Hilary Duff is magnetic and charismatic, but a lot of the secondary characters as well are just fun. And it's something where you can never really have an episode that digs too deep. You can never really have episodes that changes things, that really pushes the envelope for what they're going for. Because, at the end of the day, none of it matters, and that's a shame. And that's really what I want to say about the first season before the second season premieres. Because I could go episode by episode for this season. I could. But at the end of the day, that's the core thing that doesn't work. When half your cast is just flat, superficial, shallow, because they have to be, because they can never be anything else other than that, half your show is failing. Half your show is failing to engage, half your show is failing to get you invested, and half your show is just wasting the time of the actors who are putting in the work. Because they are. And unless they're playing characters that could have any real depth, any real richness to them, and then you're doing everyone a disservice. And that's why I hope the second season corrects. I hope that the first episode of the second season states with, absolutely no compunctions, that's the father, let's move on with our lives and let's be able to dig into these characters with a lot more nuance. Like I said, the original show was depthy or anything, but think about how weird and awful that would have been if we had to have it open for Lily or Robin to be the mother and didn't get any of their actual moments that made you care about those characters because they had to be open for Ted just in case. That would have been such a slight. And even though I didn't like where some of those character plots and arcs went for Lily and Robin, it made them open for so many amazing storylines over the seasons. And I think that they're robbing these characters of having the same experience, of being able to recapture that magic, which they could. I honestly believe so. Because there are some relationships and dynamics here in this season that could have worked, that could have really expanded it and really could have meant something to these characters. But in the back of your mind, you're like, of course, this was the only way that was going to happen. This was expected. This was predictable, because this can't last if you want to have them be serious contenders. Unless you're really going to stake your claim as, in the writer's mind of this is the character we should be rooting for, then why get invested in 2/3 of the relationships on this show? You can't. And it is honestly a little bit insulting. So I am going to have to give the first season a 5 out of 10. And I hope the second season is better. I really do. I hope that they do away with this gimmick entirely. And that we get a show that, is about something. Because right now it's about a mystery. Because it definitely isn't about characters. Because they can never be characters. They can only be plot devices. Anyway, let me know what you think below. Did you like How I Met Your Father Season 1? What were your favorite moments? And what were your favorite episodes? And do you think I'm on the right track here? Am I just saying bullshit? Because I don't think I am. I honestly don't think I am. And just leave a like, comment, subscribe, and see you again next time. Hope you have a great weekend.